Welcome everybody to our MLOps and partner kickoff webinar. I'm Thomas. I run strategic partnerships here at Domino. I've been with the company about 5 years, but about a year ago moved into this role running our partnership team. Partnerships is incredibly important for Domino. We've made a decision this year to make a very strategic investment in growing our partnership organization and our partner strategy. As a startup, we've had phenomenal success in the past 5 or so years working with many of the largest and most sophisticated enterprises. And now as we grow as an organization, looking to make the next step in maturity, we're going to go build out a lot more of our partner ecosystem. We're doing that in 2 ways. First, a big focus on technology and our tech ecosystem. So bringing all the tools and data sources and IDs and languages that data scientists know and love into our product, and then through services partners. So helping our sophisticated customers on their data science maturity journey. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of MLOps and how that applies to the enterprise, but we're also going to talk a bit about our partner program that we're announcing. So with that, I want to introduce Josh Poduska, our Domino's Chief Data Scientist, and Abe Purcell, our Head of Partnerships. And I'll hand it off to Abe to get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. So I just want to start by setting a little bit of context for the company and vision. At Domino, we believe that over the next decade, the companies that win will be companies, the ones that weave data science into the fabric of their business. And what does this mean? This means that there's going to be hundreds of data scientists building thousands of models, automating many critical decisions, and constantly learning and improving. But today, companies struggle to scale data science. And there's 3 core areas that we've seen from our customers and we hear repeatedly that come up. The first is around inflexible infrastructure, getting systems set up and processes in place so that compute environments can be used efficiently and effectively. The next is siloed work. Individual practitioners are doing work on their local machines, as well as on-prem and cloud environments that are siloed from the rest of the organization. That means that our efforts need to be stitched together manually at the end to get a full view. A lot of wasted effort and human power in there. And last is fraught path to production. Oftentimes it takes months to get a model into production. And furthermore, once it's in production, this is where MLOps comes in and be able to manage that model over time. A lot of challenges around getting this done today. We believe to solve this, companies really need to think about creating a system of record for data science. Similar to what Salesforce has done with CRM as a system of record for sales, or Workday for HR, GitHub for engineering, or SAP for finance, Domino is providing a system of record for data science. So what exactly does that mean? It means that we're creating a platform that's a central place for capture the full data science lifecycle. The key areas of Domino that make this happen. First is our workbench. This is a first-class experience for driving productivity and efficiency around individual data science practitioners. Next, we have MLOps. This is the function of being able to host and export model APIs, as well as publish different apps around models that are being created. Managing those models in production is incredibly important. And we have first-class tooling to make that happen. Sitting underneath that, we have our enterprise infrastructure foundation. This is what in this, Domino is Kubernetes Docker ready, meaning that it can be deployed into any environment the client's choosing. That could be on-prem or in a public cloud environment of choice, including AWS, GCP, or Azure. And finally, I think one of the real differentiators of Domino and our secret sauce is their killer knowledge center. This is what allows data science practitioners and organizations to really drive that competency and capability set across the enterprise, being able to find, reuse, reproduce, discuss work, all in context of the data science and data science lifecycle. Building on that, one of the major differentiators for Domino is that we are an open data science platform. In fact, really the only open data science platform. And this is what makes Domino in our approach so partner friendly. In fact, it's why we're doubling down on our approach for working with partners. You see that with this open approach, it makes Domino incredibly friendly for all of our partners in the technology category. So that could be data sources, different languages, tools, and IDEs, to all plug into Domino and give a first-class experience to individual practitioners. Our breadth of capabilities then can be extended in depth depending on the tool of choice for the users. Further from there, we have a world-class set of APIs and capabilities to allow services partners such as consulting and other services shops to be able to define and shape Domino for different industry or vertical solutions, as well as extend it into other systems. And that takes us into our ecosystem. Today, we've been working, as Thomas alluded to two kind of just general sets of partners. That would be on the consulting, companies that are services-based, and then technology, companies that are products, such as data, tools, and other ecosystem partners. What we're launching today is standardizing our approach for how to deliver value to our partners all across the customer journey. And that's going to start out with enablement. So technical training, resources, and support for our partners to get them up to speed on all the latest and greatest technical aspects of Domino, ensuring their proficiency. Next is marketing with sets of assets and investments for joint demand generation. Pipeline development, getting aligned with our channel and sales teams so that we can help drive customer success in mature deals together. And then finally, customer success, ensuring that you're connecting, coordinating with our services team and customer success organization so that we can ensure customers are having a first-class experience and getting results with Domino. Today, we're launching a really simplified view into our partner program with a very standard tiering program. That tiering program is broken up into two tiers. We have Premier and Standard. Our Premier tier is a high-touch relationship with Domino. It's an area that we would strongly encourage partners that are looking to strengthen their relationship to Domino and are really serious about their go-to-market. The Premier tier is going to offer increased visibility and prioritization with Domino services and selling teams. It's great for market-ready partners really looking to stand out. In addition, we have a Standard tier. This is great for partners that have some existing experience and competencies with Domino and are looking for an easy place to start their relationship and get started with us. A couple of the key benefits of the program I just want to outline. It's important to note that for any partner entering the Domino Partner Program, you do need to be approved. And that means that we need to see an existing competency set around Domino and skills and ability to deliver data science. That process will happen through existing customer success or through vetting with our technical validation teams. Next, we do want to highlight that we're offering a couple incentives for partners and their selling teams around referral and reselling program. You'll see that there's different benefits depending on the tier, and we have both of those options available at both tier levels. This is great for encouraging additional incentives for our partners to help maximize and fit their business models and us ultimately deliver value to the customer as quickly and fast and efficiently as possible. And finally, I do want to call out there is a program fee. Program fee will be included for Premier partners. This program fee is $25,000 a year, but it includes 5 production grade licenses and 10 technical account management hours. This is important for partners who really want to stand out and get a first-class experience for production grade licenses to Domino. These licenses can be used for internal use cases, as well as creating proof of concepts, R&D, and of course, training. Really important, again, for ensuring partners are up to speed on all the latest greatest in Domino, and we can continue to invest in their success internally, as well as then with joint customers that we're creating demand with. We'll be talking more about the program and sending follow-up materials, but I just want to highlight some of the key aspects and where we can get started together. So on that, I'm going to move over to the main portion of the presentation with Josh Poduska, our Chief Data Scientist. Josh is going to take us through some areas of the market, his personal journey and experience with Domino, highlights on MLOps, and what some of our exciting customers are doing with Domino today in the wild. On that note, Josh, take it away.
Thanks for having me here today, Abe. Our partner program is really exciting to me as Domino's Chief Data Scientist. I view all of you on this webinar as kind of fellow travelers on this journey through data science. We're experiencing a lot of changes in the data science landscape right now, and Domino is thinking deeply about those and integrating our vision of where we think data science is going and where we see it heading for organizations into our product. And we're very excited about that. Just a little background on me. I've been with Domino about 3 years. I've been in the industry about 20 years and have worked in manufacturing and public sector and have been in various leadership roles for several analytical software companies. So that's a little bit background on me. What I want to talk about today is going to cover a couple of aspects of data science, ML, AI, and the evolution of our industry. And what I'd like to start with is a little bit of my vision, and I think this is shared by Domino's vision of where our industry has been. I've seen the evolution of technology to play out very similar to, I'd say, the evolution of life on our planet. We have a lot of steady progress, and occasionally we have bursts of innovation, a lot of new life. And sometimes you'll have mass extinctions along with those transitions. I think we are fortunate to be at one of those inflection points right now. As we look around us in business and life, innovations in AI and data science abound, and there's just so many amazing stories and use cases that are coming out, and we get to be part of that, and that's really exciting for us in our careers and for the companies that we represent. But those companies that we represent and us in our careers, we need to know what we're getting into in this next era and what's coming after that, what I'm calling the unnamed future era. So I personally started my analytical journey at the beginning of that predictive models part of the evolutionary graph here. And I lived through the big data era, went to Hadoop summits, found I was doing data science before the term data science was a term. And then I've seen the rebirth of deep neural nets, which has led to a lot of the great and exciting innovations that we just put under the marketing bucket of AI lately over the last few years. And I joined Domino 3 years ago because I found a company that shared my vision of where I felt data science as an industry needed to go. We were really good as an industry about one-off projects. We can build a data product, it can have some value, we can get it deployed in a one-off manner, but there wasn't a way or a system or a technology or a platform or even sometimes even an organizational drive to make data science an enterprise capability. And Domino had that vision. I saw the need for it. Domino saw the need for it, and just been really excited to be part of Domino. And I view us as starting what I'm calling the MLOps era. And there's a lot of great stuff that's happening in this era. I'm going to define that here in a second. And then I'm also going to define what I see as this future unnamed era. I don't have a name for it yet, but I think I know what it's going to look like. And I think it aligns very well with the vision and the drive that Domino is working towards. So first, let me start with the current focus on the MLOps era. It has to do with DevOps, it has to do with CI/CD, validating models, monitoring models, components that are modularized and reusable, and it has a very strong drive and trend towards cloud workflows. So I think we all kind of recognize that. We see that out in the market right now. We're really trying to get these models into production and systematizing that process. But what I think some people don't recognize and don't grasp is we're at the beginning of this era. And I think as this era unfolds, we're going to see a lot more structure around model validation. That's going to include explainability, it's going to include ethics, and we see that in the news, we see that in some of the technological advancements right now, but it's going to become much more systematized. The other thing that's going to become more systematized is model monitoring. Right now, it's very functional, and we're just getting into the probabilistic nature of model monitoring. We're cracking that nut, but we haven't really done due diligence on this. And it just blows my mind that as an industry, we're still solving the model monitoring problem. It's been something that those of us that are close to it have known about for years and years and years. And we're finally getting around to doing it. But I think in this model MLOps era, we're going to do it right. We're finally going to get it right. And that's going to, in a large part, rely on traditional statistical principles. We're going to bring back some old principles to really do model monitoring the right way. And then we're going to complete that feedback loop. The one thing that all of this entails is MLOps era is only talking about the bottom half of this particular data science lifecycle diagram. It's about the production. It's about the how. It's stitching together a bunch of complicated APIs, services, technologies. The next era, that future unnamed era, is going to complete the R&D half of the life cycle, tie it together nicely with the great progress that we're making right now in the MLOps era with the production half of the life cycle. And while I don't yet know exactly the specifics of how that new era is going to unfold, I do know and feel strongly that it will be characterized by efficiencies of scale. One of our customers, who is a senior vice president of analytics at a large tech company, gave this quote about a year ago, and it just really resonated with me. He said, 10 years ago, data was our competitive advantage. Then data became ubiquitous. We turned to models. Models became our competitive advantage. Now everyone's starting to get models. That's starting to become table stakes. Today, it's their process. And that's really what's going to separate the haves from the have-nots in the MLOps era, and also in the future unnamed era, which I think that future era is going to be an even bigger inflection point than our current MLOps era. So here's my word cloud for the future era. I think it's going to be about system of record. It's going to be about research team workflows, enterprise capability, business value, collaboration, all of these things that are associated with efficiencies of scale. And technical innovations, while this looks almost like business terms, it must be enabled by technical innovations. And I'm not talking about AutoML. I'm not talking about drag and drop data science. I'm not talking about an easy button for data science. This is technologies that will help with standardization. So again, think about operationalizing that R&D half of the data science lifecycle. Think about providing tools to capture and share institutional analytical knowledge. This is going to be about providing a way to automatically track research and to automatically reproduce it with just a click of a button. It's going to have a lot to do with managing your portfolio of data science projects and assets and data. It's going to involve tracking business value of data projects. In short, it's really about enabling the science part of data science. We're going to provide a structure so that teams can operate like a group of collaborative research scientists. That life science researchers, if they're working on a vaccine or anything of that nature, when they hit a dead end, they don't throw away that information. They save it, they treasure it almost as what not to do, and as a foundation to pivot off of in a smart way and go in another direction. And then there's so much that analogy of research, but that team of research scientists is really, I think, a great analogy for what's going to happen in the next era and how organizations who succeed will behave in that future era. The three points that I would summarize as describing that era are lifecycle management, and that's kind of the end state. It's from ideation to production. Knowledge management, which is, again, systems that are going to spark innovation and inspiration for new breakthroughs. This is that compounding effect of the value created by data science teams. And then it's portfolio management. It's, hey, let's enable a hierarchy of needs versus just a bottoms-up approach to what we do in projects. Let's give everyone visibility into what's happening in our data science research and our data products, and let's track business value. So in this new era, I think the analytical engine of organizations will finally begin to fire on all cylinders. And this is what Domino has always been striving for. And it's heartening to me to see the rest of the industry driving in the same direction. So let me take a few slides here to share how Domino is making this a reality. I'm going to switch over to some kind of technical points here. And some of this may already be known to you, but I still think I'll go through it quickly. It's a good foundation for what Domino does and to kind of understand why we're different, why we're special. So let's start with Docker. We all know that Docker is environment management, and we know that containers are kind of magical in the data science world. They give data scientists, they give us a safe playground to tinker and get the right drivers and get the right versions of Python and R packages to work together. And then once we get all that right and we're connected to our data in the right way, we can save that container as a golden state environment. This includes IDEs like Jupyter, RStudio, SAS, MATLAB, VS Code, SQL editors. And theoretically, if you work with these containers in a smart way, you can build up a library of these containers that are going to provide the foundation of MLOps and the foundation of that future unnamed era, both for the research and for the production side of the life cycle. Containers are just indispensable to all that. But why is this hard? Data scientists aren't usually great at Docker. There's a learning curve for us. That library thing, that library vision, it requires a lot of work and a lot of centralized management. So IT is going to need to be involved. But when you do it right, you've got all the great tools on the bottom and you connect it to all the right data on the top. And so Docker is a really magical thing for data science. So next comes Kubernetes. Kubernetes, as you know, is container orchestration. So what does this do for data science? This is like matchmaking. It's the Tinder for compute and containers to get the right folks together at the right time. It's distributed cluster management. So now one thing we're seeing in the AI era, the era that we're just kind of leaving, I think, and getting into MLOps, is large scale workloads, distributed clusters for both data prep and for training, especially deep nets, but even other models as well. So distributed cluster management in Kubernetes is really important. And then orchestrating, so if we're thinking about teams, and if teams are working together, and if that's what characterizes where we're at now and where we're going in the future, then Kubernetes is a way to orchestrate all that work across the compute grid. And really importantly, with so many different architectures right now, AWS, SageMaker, Microsoft Azure ML, Google AI platform, on-prem, you have NVIDIA, you have PyTorch, you have TensorFlow, you have just Dask, you have Ray, you have Spark, you have so many different architectures. If you can build your foundation of containers on Docker and Kubernetes, it allows you freedom to switch between those. And now you're really set up for that hybrid cloud on-prem switching between infrastructures, and whatever comes in the future, you're ready for that as well. So the problem with this is huge IT lift to build and maintain this type of data science specific container orchestration. But if you do it in the right way, you can, again, jump between SageMaker, Azure ML, Google AI, OpenShift on-prem, and you can play with Spark, you can play with Ray, you can play with Dask, you got GPUs on NVIDIA for deep learning, you've got a whole bunch of hyperparameter optimization frameworks you can use, and it's kind of just, data scientists are in heaven. They can just play with whatever, click of a button, spin up the right container, my work's orchestrated, I'm using the right compute, and IT is happy because it can be all centralized. So that's the vision, and that's where Domino comes in. This is the platform. There has to be a data science platform that basically data science-izes all of this. All this Docker and Kubernetes promise, this magic that can really set us up for this new future era. Domino is what makes all that happen. We're kind of like therapists for IT and data science. We can bridge that gap. The data scientists get the self-serve feel, they get openness of tools, but IT gets everything centralized and governed and cost controlled. It facilitates collaboration, it facilitates reproducibility, version control, you get that project management, and of course you get the MLOps, the deploy, host, and maintain. So I love this slide. This is what Domino, this is a great description of Domino. So Domino is the cupcake for data scientists. And oh, by the way, the sprinkles are the medicine, the pills that data scientists need to take but don't like to. So data scientists get to be more productive. They test ideas faster. They have access to the compute. But IT and data science leadership and executive leadership get version control. They get asset reproducibility. They get cost controls. They get standardization. They get blessed environments. They get security. So that a smart data science platform can really do a lot of things to get us to the goals that we want to get to. So allow me to share, if I can, a couple of screenshots from the Domino platform just to drive home some of these points I've been making. What you're seeing here is the project homepage. And this is where I go to create new projects and to look at my colleagues' projects. So I've got a couple of projects here that you're seeing, and there could be a whole library of them. And what's important to understand here is across the top, you've got your projects, you've got collaborating projects, you've got suggested projects and popular projects. And to the left, you've got this little search widget that you can search across the entire platform of projects. So now someone in HR can learn, a data scientist in HR can learn from a data scientist over in sales, and can learn from a data scientist in manufacturing, and can learn from, you can cross-pollinate ideas all under one platform. And for solution integrators and for consultancies, which we're particularly focused on in this webinar, we've heard many great stories and accounts of this way of working, the way Domino organizes data science, allowing them to jump right into a project. And when they're done with that project, along the way, they can collaborate with full-time employees at the company. And when they're done, they've left behind a very easy, reusable, searchable, very self-documented asset of the data science project. And that's been really valuable to some of the consultancies and systems integrators that we've talked to. Just to give you a little bit of vision of one of the standard ways of working in Domino, in the middle, you bring up this little wizard, and you can choose between different IDEs. And this isn't the only IDEs that you can load into Domino. And along the top, you've got that library of containers, which is off to the left in this image here. Those are blessed by IT and by the system admins. And you can even have your own, as data scientists, you can tweak and customize your own containers. But they might not be blessed by data scientists, so they might not show up in the same area. It's all permissions based, very full featured, very IT friendly product. And of course, along the bottom and on the right, you've got the clusters that you can spin up with a click of a button. So again, my point in showing you this is fast, easy, open, self-serve, but governed and controlled access to all the tools that data scientists want to use in the same project, switching between Jupyter and RStudio and VS Code and SAS all in the same project. And I've mentioned a couple times portfolio management and asset management. As you have that system of record, that one platform, you can imagine the metadata that's flowing underneath and the smart things you can do with that metadata. They're going to add tremendous value when we start thinking about efficiencies of scale. So here we've got assets portfolio, tracking all the assets, the usage of those assets. How many versions have we iterated through? How often are we updating these assets? And on the top right, the portfolio, what projects are in flight? How many do we have in flight? Which ones are in production? What stage are they at? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more. But I think that's enough now to kind of paint the picture. The last thing I'll mention before I pass it back over to Abe is probably the most exciting, and that's what our customers are doing. We love our customers. They are at the forefront of data science. We're solving the world's toughest data science challenges with our customers, and it's just a great ride to be with them. What you see here is a quick snapshot of what one of our customers, Janssen, which is the pharmaceutical branch of Johnson & Johnson, is doing. In partnering with Domino, they are making large breakthroughs in identifying prostate cancer via whole slide image diagnoses. They have a project called Thea. This used to be outsourced. With Domino, they're able to bring it in-house and control these deep neural nets, these convolutional neural nets that are doing this prostate diagnosis. And they're able to improve the efficiency of these and reduce the training time by expanding to clusters. So Domino and its Kubernetes-based orchestration has allowed them to do this and to get much more efficient. And what's even, I think, more important and speaks to something I was talking about earlier is when they went from outsourcing to bringing this in-house, now they have the institutional knowledge. And they told us that the insights they gained by owning the deep nets themselves and the insights they gained by the structure of those deep nets have led to new medical research hypotheses that they have fed back to their research team and have really iterated and improved their overall scientific research at their company. So it's just a great example of how those efficiencies of scale and that team research mentality is really going to be an inflection point for our industry. It's going to start to take off. Another really fun story and very exciting is one we did with a large defense contractor company, and they participated in what was called the Alpha Dogfight trial with DARPA. It's a government agency. And in here, the goal was to see if an AI-based program could beat an expert fighter pilot in a working on simulators. So they're in simulators. I think they were flying F-16s, if I remember right. And they wanted to see if DeepNet's AI could beat those pilots. And our customer here was one of the companies that was able to defeat the person that trains fighter pilots on how to fly F-16s in simulators, which is really mind-blowing. We could geek out on the tech for a while here on how they did this. It used reinforcement learning. They broke down a dogfight into stages that might occur, and then had a different deep net for each stage. So that was pretty cool. And Domino again allowed them to expand this to break out each stage into a different team. And so they could collaborate on this big project, but they have a platform where they can all talk to each other and look at each other's work and have their own GPUs and their own containers to work on their work. And Domino just seamlessly allowed them to do that and took their training time from weeks down to days. So they're able to build a much more efficient model. And the last one I'll mention is a global investment management and insurance company. What they found by jumping to a platform like Domino was security. They had siloed work everywhere with a lot of different use cases. And you have data connections into each of those silos. Bringing it into one platform, you have one place for well-governed data connections, and it really increases your security. There were other benefits as well, but that was one that stuck out to me with this particular customer. So I'll pass it back over to you, Abe, but just in conclusion, we see the data science landscape changing rapidly right now in the MLOps era, but we think it's going to really start to bifurcate, and we get to this next era between the haves and the have-nots. And that's going to be around efficiencies of scale. It's going to be around team research, and it's going to be around those that can harness the magic of containers in a smart way that is data science friendly and data science centric, that allows them openness and still has all the governance. And IT is going to play a critical role, and so will our partners. And we're very excited to have you on this webinar today, and hope that you take the next step into looking more into partnering with Domino and being at the forefront of data science with us. So Abe, I'll pass it back over to you.
Great, excellent. Thanks so much, Josh. That's fantastic, with some great customer stories there. So if you want to just flip over to the next slide. So that kind of concludes the presentation, the content for today. Hopefully you got a good understanding of Domino, our company, the vision, and what we're rolling out with our new partner program, and some great incentives and sub-programs that we have for partners to help get things going. The next steps here are pretty clear. We'd love to hear from you. Please give us feedback on today's presentation, but also let us know if you'd like to apply to be a partner in our program. We will be sending a program guide with more details on some of the key things that I highlighted, as well as an overall view into the program and how to get started in follow-up to this webinar. But in the meantime, please do then also reach out to us. And of course, from there, it'll be an exercise in starting to work together. So where can we kind of, where can we break ground and start working together and joint customers? So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, partners@dominodatalab.com, or myself personally, abe.purcell@dominodatalab.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And on that, I think we'll flip to the next slide and open it up to questions. Okay, excellent. So first question I have here is a question around kind of the competitive question, kind of alluding to the competitive landscape, and basically asking, what are the primary reasons why one would choose Domino Data Lab? So I don't know, Josh, do you have any feedback on just thinking through some of our customer stories, or where customers are finding the most success? What are the features and functionality and things they're using in Domino that are, kind of led them to getting the most value?
Yeah, happy to. I do a lot with competitive intelligence, and at Domino, it's a very interesting space right now, the whole industry. A lot of our competitors are doing some really great things. The one thing that sets Domino apart is the breadth of our platform. A lot of our competitors will be really good at, let's say, experiment tracking, or they might be really good at getting models into production. But no one, when I do my competitive intelligence, I don't see anybody that approaches the breadth of what Domino does, from project management on the ideation side, all the way through research and development, through collaboration in that process, onto keeping a history of what's happened with that process for validating models, and then on to deployment, and then finishing that loop with monitoring models. And along the way, having just such an open, solid foundation of tools and ecosystems really is what's special about Domino. Really is the breadth of the product.
Thanks, Josh. Can you say just a few more? There's a few other kind of questions just around the collaboration tools in Domino. Is there any kind of specific examples that you can highlight on things that make Domino stand out from a collaboration standpoint?
As I mentioned, Domino is a broad product, and so it's not possible to answer all of the ways Domino enables collaboration in the time we have. But some of the highlights are definitely leaving comments on files, leaving comments on workloads, being able to attach a container-based job to let's say a goal in a project. A project might have a goal, and you can attach a particular run to that goal. With the click of a button, someone, one of your coworkers, can jump into the state of that container at that time, the state of the files at that time, and the state of the data at that time, and be able to reproduce what just happened. So it really allows for cross-team collaboration very well as intra-team collaboration through comments and code reviews, integration with Git, and just all the typical intra-team collaboration that you would expect. It's probably the intra-team that would surprise you, and would probably be something you'd be like, wow, that's pretty cool. Some of the reproducibility and shareability of assets within Domino.
Excellent. Thanks, Josh. Great highlights there. Next question we have is from Bill Shannon. As a hands-on data scientist, I love Domino's ability to let me run and test models quickly. But as a manager, moving to Dockers and containers and completely unknown set of tools, what do you recommend I do, read videos, etc., to learn more in these areas? So Josh, you have recommendations around basically, I think, Docker and containers as it relates to Domino for kind of getting started. I guess maybe outside of Domino per se a little bit, but tangentially related.
Yeah, I think we can follow up with some material on that for sure. But, Domino made a bet about 2 years ago to push pause on some of our roadmap for new features and kind of really some new great features. And we said we need to re-platform everything on Kubernetes. And we did it in a very serious way, where the entire Domino was rebuilt on Kubernetes. You'll see a lot of our competitors will have Kubernetes options, or hey, you can deploy to Kubernetes, or hey, if you want, you can run this VM or container on Kubernetes. But Domino installs, runs, deploys everything on Kubernetes, and that has been a great investment for us. We were a little bit nervous about it when we made that decision, because it meant pushing pause on some new features, but it's turned out to be absolutely the right choice. It's given us the ability to switch between cloud and on-prem, between different clouds, and it's just given us a lot of flexibility, easier install, easier maintenance of the project, of the platform, excuse me. We've seen customers go from 20 plus IT head managing their data science containers down to one using Domino. So it's really been the right decision. So it is important to understand a little bit, at least the basics of Kubernetes and containers. So yeah, we can follow up with some information on that.
Yeah, Bill, and we definitely do have a lot of white papers available for Domino. So we can definitely follow up on that. Let us know, again, just shoot me an email if you're looking for something specific, and we can help you with that. Last question here we're going to get to, Josh, is just around using Domino with Spark and distributed compute. Just a question about what we support and what we see customers doing in that area.
Yeah, a great question. We support basically two flavors of Spark clusters. One is an existing long-lived Spark cluster. We can connect to that, which would be a pretty standard thing that you would expect a platform like us to be able to do. In that, you're going to have more of your streaming use cases and more of your long-lived jobs and workloads. We also support, in a very first-class manner, ephemeral Spark clusters, so short-lived clusters for model training, for data prep, for pipelines, for scheduled jobs, for kind of instantaneous needs. So we support both kinds, long-lived and ephemeral. And in our ephemeral Spark clusters, it's a very generic approach to it, meaning that it's very flexible. So you can use that same methodology to spin up Ray clusters, to spin up Dask clusters. So you're not just limited to Spark. That same technology easily transports over to other frameworks.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, everybody who attended today. We really appreciate your time digging into Domino with us. Again, please send us any follow-ups via email, partners@dominodatalab.com or abe.purcell@dominodatalab.com. And we'd love to hear from you, and you will be hearing from us as well with a full program guide, recording from today, as well as the slides. Thanks again for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day and upcoming weekend. Bye.